A hidden jewel in Cambodia. The Banteay Chhmar temple. For hundreds of years, the temple was overgrown by jungle and forgotten by the world. For nearby villagers, it's a sacred place. 900 years of monsoon rains, looters, and wars have been hard on the temple. Yet its magic remains. Sreymom and her husband Sopeng regularly pray inside the old temple. Their daughters should learn to respect Buddha early on. Both Sopeng and Sreymom work with the village committee on restoring the temple and preserving the ancient Khmer traditions. Sreymom was born here. The people of Banteay Chhmar are proud of their enchanting and legendary temple. Before sunrise, the monks of the Buddhist monastery gather for the first prayer. The monk's mantra, a meditative repetition of sacred syllables from ancient Indian Theravada scriptures, is supposed to protect the mind from disturbances. The monk's sing-song serves as an alarm clock for the inhabitants of Banteay Chhmar. At 4:30 a.m., loudspeakers broadcast the morning prayer into every nook and cranny of the village. Several thousand people live in the commune of Banteay Chhmar, located in northern Cambodia near the Thai border. It's a remote region. Until a few years ago, it had no paved connection to the outside world. Sopeng and Sreymom have lovingly arranged their traditional wooden house. Now the village has electricity, but it still doesn't have running water. Each house has its own well. In their garden, Sopeng and Sreymom grow coconuts, winter melons, and kitchen herbs, with the help of their in-laws, who live with them most of the time. Sreymom grew up poor. As a child, she sold sweets to help her mother, who had a small food stall. When she was a teenager, Sreymom desperately wanted to leave the village. Then she met Sopeng. For their wedding, their parents gave the couple a rice field and land for a house. And so they remained in the village.
Banteayដោយសារតែនិយាយទៅជួយអត់កើតខ្លួនឯងរៀនទៅក៏អត់រៀនអត់ចូលហើយក៏សម្រាយទៅក៏ត្រឡប់មកវិញឃើញជាភាពនៅផ្ទះពុកម៉ែគាត់មានកូនរៀនបងប្រុសខ្ញុំហើយនិងប្អូនខ្ញុំរៀនដែរឃើញជាភាពគាត់រៀនលំបាកហើយក៏សម្រាទៅចឹងណាបងក៏ខ្លួនឯងដែរ
Chicken feathers are used as organic fertilizer. Gardening is Sopeng's great passion. Rice and cassava provide the family with its main source of income. Recently, Sopeng also got a part-time job as a temple guide for the few visitors who find their way to Banteay Chhmar. This temple belongs to the villagers and must not become a mass tourism attraction like the world-famous Angkor Wat. Here, the temple guards have been keeping an eye on the people for nearly 1,000 years. Four bridges lead over the moat into the temple. Gods are enthroned on the left, demons on the right. To this day, villagers observe the time-honored rule, always sticking to the middle of the path, between good and evil. That helps one's mental balance. The weekly committee meeting in the village council hall is a must for all volunteers. They discuss the temple restoration work, organize English lessons for guides and children, and find host families for guests who want to learn about the Khmer culture. Sopeng is late. He arrives just in time for the most important item on the agenda, planning for Bon Om Tuk. The water festival at the end of the rainy season is celebrated throughout Cambodia, with a traditional rowboat race as the highlight. It's a matter of honor for the committee to compete with its own team.
នៅប្រទេសឆ្មាគេឆ្ងល់គេថាអ៊ំណៃណាបើកសិនយើងនៅខ្លីប៉ុន្តែថាយើងថាយើងអ៊ំច្រើនឆ្នាំមកហើយអញ្ចឹងមិនមែនតែប្រទេសឆ្មាយើងបានដឹងទេគឺទូទាំងពិភពលោកនឹងបានដឹងហើយកំប្លែងផ្លែកអញ្ចឹងយើងចង់បានយោបល់ពីគណៈកម្មការម្នាក់អាចសុំចេញយោបល់មកទាក់ទងសុំចេញមកម្ដងមកគូមានយោបល់អីអត់ការបង្កើតកម្មវិធីអ៊ំទូកនោះ ខ្ញុំបង្កើតសម្រាប់តែប្រុសៗឬក៏មាននារីចូលរួមដែរឲ្យម៉ែចុងភៅចូលឬក៏ម៉ែចុងភៅក៏អ៊ំខ្ទះចូលរួមដែរមកក្រុមអីណាគូដាក់មួយស្រីស្រាវមួយម៉ាក់ឥឡូវចេះថ្ងៃនេះយើងសូមរើសយកគណៈកម្មការនេះអត់ការទេធ្ងន់ទូចព្រោះថាសូមលើកងើបឈរតិចមកពីរនាក់ហ្នឹងបាទ ណាកម្មការដឹកនាំទូកអ៊ំបាទមីស្ទ័រពេទ្យបែរអីត្រូវបដោះបដាលយ៉ាងម៉េចដូចអ៊ំបានជម្រាបជូនហ្នឹងទាក់ទងមកគាត់បាទថតរូបនេះថតរូប
The entire village is being spruced up for the big festival in 3 weeks' time. Its one asphalt road is repaired, and the moat is cleared to serve as the race course. During the rainy season, water lilies and lotus grew exuberantly. Now, however, they must be removed before the team's first training session.
ក្រុមយើងធ្លាប់ឈ្នះកាលពីឆ្នាំ2017ធ្លាប់ឈ្នះបានលេខ3ឆ្នាំនេះយើងសង្ឃឹមថាអាចទទួលជាជំនះ
The temple complex is a huge geometric construction bordered by 4 moats. In the 12th century, Banteay Chhmar was one of the 5 great temples of the mighty Khmer Empire. Hundreds of Buddhist monks lived in the temple complex. It had a library, meditation halls, and a healing center. The flame of eternal light, a fire that was never supposed to go out, burned in one room. An enigmatic face tower looms over the complex. Faces on each side gaze in the 4 cardinal directions. Each smile represents a different mood. On this special day, a ceremony is being held to rouse the longboats. During the rainy season, the boats were safely stored in the monastery, where they were said to sleep. Now they have to be awakened for the race. A string ritual requests the spirits to agree to the boats being roused. Villagers' prayers are carried along the string to the prow of the boat. A burning candle symbolizes the boat's awakening. The boat race is not just a competition. It's a way to honor history. The slim racing boats are still built as they were 800 years ago, when the Khmer army fought its legendary sea battles. Younger men are permitted to carry the boat to the moat, where in the next few days, the village elders will renovate it. As usual, women have to watch. Sreymom takes comfort knowing that at least in the neighboring village there's a women's team.
ក្រុមចាស់ចាស់យ៉ាមកក្រុម
អមមកចាញ់ទៅ
បង
យកមកទៅ
បងសហគមន៍ឆ្នាំនេះអមដែរបងឯង
អមតាអម
អូប្រហែលជាឆ្នាំនេះខ្ញុំឲ្យគាត់ឈ្នះ
Tôi thì là phải đi vậy là cầm cô
chừng mới đập pal chừng mới nhom dây đập pal làm bạ khăng
về phụ dương.
For the villagers, preparing together for Bon Om Tuk is one of the happiest weeks of the year. In the evening, after a busy day, the gods and demons on the temple bridge guarantee the villagers emotional equilibrium, just as they have for 800 years in Banteay Chhmar. Villagers without wells at home fetch water from the temple reservoir. And from time to time, a truck delivers them drinking water. Although the village banks on tradition, Sreymom has nothing against technical innovation. Her Japanese moped makes life much easier, especially for going to the little market, where with Thai currency, she can purchase everything the family doesn't grow itself.
Hộ sạp trơm hộ sạp ăn chết sạp à vô mô áp sam sạp mô
chặt thứ trai
nơi anh chặt mô chặt trai chặt ơi mô
con anh đã cho
mồm lùi chặt lắp bà
mày tụt tê cam mày nghe là mồ bà roti cho nó con bà roti tê chàng khơi chả bị chàng tê
cái sai chru mô mà cái mà thắt ơi trơn vậy ba tay môi nhịn tay
với pri oi nè
แต่มาขายจำนายอาชญเจนจำโนแล้วจำโนโรบันติกจะอาชญามาจีมาขายไอตัวปีโรยนะบองสำหรับย้อมจีเรียงจีไปจำง่ายยมตินนี่ไปแต่จัดย้อมจองตัวตินนึกเราช่างง่ายนึกขายจะบานแต่ดันลีฟองแต่สักทำไมอ่ะเดิมตรังพลาวตีนี่ดัดทอดจ้ะ
Sreymom had almost given up hope of ever getting a job. But a teaching position at the village school was just posted, and she's applied. Getting that would fulfill her fervent wish. Sopeng is responsible for the garden and the field. He's always supported his wife's wish to work in her profession. In Cambodia, that's not so usual. Sreymom's mother grew up during the Khmer Rouge reign of terror and never learned to read or write. The communist regime considered education useless. Fortunately, the younger generation only knows about this period from history books. Grandchildren should grow up happy and healthy and live well. Sopeng is with his friend Mao Si, the committee's president. They want to see how the temple restoration is coming along. During the turmoil of the Cambodian Civil War in the 1970s, many temple treasures and statues were looted. The losses were huge, but restoration has begun. Recently, the villagers pulled this sandstone temple guard out of the moat, cleaned, and put him back where he belongs. A temple guard returns to his post. The villagers are especially proud of reconstructing the temple's front enclosure wall. A nearly 200-meter-long sandstone relief tells the story of King Jayavarman VII. The temple is dedicated to his son, who was killed in battle here. Sandstone bas-reliefs immortalize the wars between the Khmer and the Cham, two great historical powers locked in a long-running dispute. The bas-reliefs show the origin of today's boat races.
Ca thưa sừng kriêm trênទឹករបស់បាទជ័យម៉ាន់ទី7អញ្ចឹងការធ្វើសង្គ្រាមនេះគឺបាទជាមួយចាមបាទអញ្ចឹងយើងមានទូករបស់បាទជ័យម៉ាន់ទី7ហ្នឹងក្នុងចន្លោះឆ្នាំ1181ដល់1100សំទោស1177ដល់1181បាទព្រះអង្គក៏បានធ្វើសង្គ្រាមឈ្នះការសង្គ្រាមគឺព្រះអង្គបានឈ្នះទៅលើពួកចាមហើយដូច្នេះហើយព្រះអង្គបានធ្វើពិធីអុំទូកបាទពិធីបុណ្យអុំទូកដើម្បីរំលឹកជ័យជំនះគឺជាមោទនភាពមួយតែងតែប្រារព្ធពិធីបុណ្យអុំទូកនេះដើម្បីយកក្រុមជើងខ្លាំងនោះគឺធ្វើជាក្រុមនាវិកក្រុមទាហានជើងទឹកប៉ុន្តែសម័យយើងឥឡូវគឺធ្វើក្នុងលក្ខណៈកំសាន្តទេអត់បានធ្វើជ្រើសរើសទាហានជើងទឹកដោយការពីមុនទេ
Stepping inside the temple is like entering another world. It's a calm and entrancing place with mystical power. For Sopeng and Mao Si, going to the temple is always a new experience. The huge sandstone blocks were brought here on rafts 800 years ago. Oxen and elephants worked on the site. The whole project was a logistical and technical feat. In the 12th century, Jayavarman VII had the temple built to be the second seat of power after the city of Angkor. Today, visitors are captivated by the mysteries of a long-vanished world. Originally, the temple of Banteay Chhmar was a religious center for both Buddhists and Hindus, a type of multi-religion temple. Conservators are working on the back of the temple. Thousands of widely scattered bits must be pieced together to rebuild the enclosure walls, a huge puzzle that will take decades to complete. Archaeologists and Khmer experts have developed computer models for this purpose and retrained village rice farmers to be stonemasons. Great precision is needed to perfectly fit the sandstone blocks together. It will not be possible to completely rebuild the huge temple, and that's not the plan. Conservators seek to make the temple and its art historically valuable bas-reliefs structurally secure and to prevent further decay. Next to the rear exit sits the 32-armed Bodhisattva, the Buddha of eternal compassion.
ប្រាសាទនេះគឺជាកន្លែងដែលខ្ញុំធ្វើការជាអ្នកនាំភ្ញៀវទស្សនាប្រាសាទហើយក៏ជាកន្លែងសម្រាប់ខ្ញុំតែងតែបួងសួងសូមសេចក្តីសុខសេចក្តីចម្រើនបាទសូមសំណាងល្អសម្រាប់ក្រុមគ្រួសាររបស់ខ្ញុំក៏ដូចប្រទេសជាតិរបស់ខ្ញុំហើយមិត្តភ័ក្តិរបស់ខ្ញុំផងដែរបាទ
The wedding season begins just before the water festival. The temple from the glorious Khmer era is a favorite backdrop for photographers and newlyweds. Once again, the temple of Banteay Chhmar is the region's spiritual center and also the center of social life. Just 2 weeks till Bon Om Tuk. 2 long boats are being readied for the traditional race. This boat gets a fresh coat of paint from the oldest person in the village. There are still a few days left before the big water festival, but there are already signs of it. The traveling carnival is in full swing. This makes a nice change for the whole family. And for a village that only got electricity a few years ago, rides and neon lighting show that it is now connected to the modern world. Sreymom and Sopeng know it will be hard to keep their daughters in the village when they get older. Many young Cambodians are attracted by the supposedly easy life in the city. That's why it's so important to make village life more attractive, ensuring that children don't grow up poor, that they get good educations and job training, so they might choose to settle down in the country. Sreymom's very special dream has come true. She got the job. Although it's only half days as a preschool teacher, that's okay. Finally, she's working in a school. It's Sreymom's second day on the job. Everything is still quite new, both for the teacher and for the little ones, some of whom are accompanied by their grandmothers. In preschool, the children are supposed to get used to a normal school day. The following year, they begin first grade. In Cambodia, school attendance is compulsory, but some poor parents can't afford to buy the school uniform, and others need their children to help in the rice paddies. The community of Banteay Chhmar tries to make sure that everyone at least makes it through primary school. This month's lesson plan includes the Khmer script, counting from 1 to 10, and some basic social skills.
តាមពិតការអប់រំក្មេងៗនៅជនបទនោះមានសារៈសំខាន់ដោយសារតែគាត់អត់ទាន់យល់ច្រើនថាតើអាការជំរាបសួរនឹងជំរាបយ៉ាងម៉េចជំរាបលានឹងជំរាបយ៉ាងម៉េចនឹងបានខ្ញុំត្រូវការឲ្យគាត់ដឹងហើយវាមានសារៈសំខាន់នៅពេលដែលគាត់បានមករៀននៅសាលាហើយគាត់មានចំណេះដឹងល្អៗពីគ្រូហើយក៏ទៅវិញឪពុកម្ដាយរបស់គាត់នឹងសប្បាយចិត្តព្រោះពេលចេញទៅវិញចេះជំរាបសួរចេះជំរាបលាខ្ញុំគិតថាសំខាន់ណាស់សម្រាប់ខ្ញុំហើយមានប្រាក់ចំណូលបន្ថែមពីគ្រូបង្រៀនមួយមុខទៀតចា៎
Eating together is a daily ritual for the family. Today they're having fish amok, the Cambodian national dish. Freshwater fish from the village pond, boiled with coconut milk, palm sugar, ginger and limes. Every warm dish is accompanied by rice. Children adore the slightly sweet winter melon soup. Most of the ingredients come from the family garden. Sopeng is proud he can provide fresh fruits and vegetables for his wife, children, and in-laws. Sopeng is working in his field today. A sack of fertilizer just fits on the back of the moped. Cambodia has a tradition of growing rice, which is harvested twice a year in most of the country. But in Banteay Chhmar, the ground is too dry for that. That's why Sopeng has switched to cultivating cassava. With a little fertilizer, the nutritious tuber grows quickly. Much of the cassava harvest is exported to Thailand, where it's made into flour.
Nam muối từ lông về ảnh, miền thiệp nghi sôi chiang sợi, tịp xa bỏ lông mì này về miền thiệp nghi sôi chiang sợi viên, chỉ tới về nè đặt tinh những cái bụng áp, rồi những đây chứ những ai thôi sợi pui lọ bán, chẳng cứ đầm lại về thọ quan tay chụp từ lông mì cứ về nghi sôi mình tên không cà rô tịp xa. Vì tôi bây giờ mình tha tờ lông xây chắc rồi cái tờ lông tôi tờ lông thông đấy cứ ở tại miền tờ lông luộc cái tinh được không?
Sopeng spreads the fertilizer alone. In 3 months' time, however, his neighbors will help with the harvest. It goes without saying that villagers give each other a hand. Today, Sopeng is helping one of his older neighbors, Mr. Mayang.
Ban vô một bột đàn
một cái đợt ní trốt bàn, pin bộ hay cái đợt Bon Om Tuk ní trốt bàn, rồi Bon Om Tuk trốt
đàn bộ bàn này,
đàn bộ bàn, rồi
sầu mày bộ sầu mày,
cái on slap xe ở hơi sầu,
bà,
rồi on
lọ vậy,
đàn ngay Bon Om Tuk trốt đàn bộ
luôn,
đàn bộ.
Mr. Mayang is one of the last farmers who still uses an ox cart. He allows his grandchildren to ride on it for a short distance. Mr. Mayang is on his way to the rice mill. The middleman pays him the equivalent of 30 euros for a 100-kilo sack. That's not much, but at least, says Mr. Mayang, my oxen don't need gasoline, and they eat the hay left after the rice has been harvested.
ខ្ញុំធ្លាប់ប្រើតាំងពីម៉ែអូដូនតាខ្ញុំថាគោប្រសើរជាងឡានព្រោះឡានដល់ប្រើទូទៅឌឺគ្រោះថ្នាក់ចរាចរណ៍បុកលិចបុកកើតគោខ្ញុំមិនដែលមានគ្រោះថ្នាក់ចរាចរណ៍ទៅហើយតែប្រើវាថែបានស្អាតលក់ទៅក៏មានតម្លៃគោលក់ថ្លៃប្រហែលឡានតាក់ស៊ីមួយដែរគោលក់នេះគេឲ្យតាក់ស៊ីមួយខ្ញុំមិនដូរទៀតគោ
The rice is cleaned of stones, hulled, and milled. Monks use the year's first rice for sacrifices in the water festival. Just 3 days till the big festival. Scouts form a guard of honor. This is because the racing boats are about to be launched. Another duly celebrated ritual. We'll soon see if the repair work was successful, or if the old planks still leak. The boat floats. But there's no training today. 13 rowers from the committee team are absent. Most of them are working in the fields. As for Sopeng, he has an appointment. Shortly before Bon Om Tuk, a few foreigners have come to Banteay Chhmar. Sopeng is guiding a married couple from England through the temple. He explains the bas-relief that depicts everyday life in the Khmer Empire.
And this is the activity in the palace. You could see like that represented as the king and the queens, the concubines, yes. Yeah. And Jayavaraman VII, he got 2 queens.
Only 2.
Yeah, you too.
Only 2.
Only 2. Yeah.
Both of the queens very strong women. Yeah. But I don't think it rain much. Just a little.
It's quite refreshing.
Yeah. It's like the God blessing you.
Yeah.
The God blessing you.
Not too cold.
Yeah. And this is the story of Buddha in this wall, display.
Yeah.
The history of the Buddha. He want to escape from like born and reborn, like the reincarnation. He want to stop the reincarnation. So he tried to find out the enlightenment. He spent 6 years in the forest. Then he got enlightenment. After he got enlightenment, he just first take 5 men. These 5 men to become the monks. You know, when these 5 men learned very well from the Buddha, they go to teach more and more monks. To teach more and more monks. So now you could see a lot of monks.
Yeah.
How many monks?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't find the way out.
A little rain can't dampen Sopeng's enthusiasm. He loves sharing the temple's secrets with foreigners. Each year, only 2,000 travelers find their way to Banteay Chhmar, Cambodia's forgotten temple. All the visitors succumb to the temple's enchantment in all kinds of weather.
It's very peaceful. It's wet,
Yeah.
but it's very peaceful, and you feel as if you're getting away from all this mass tourism. Because sometimes in some of the temples, like Angkor Wat, is crazy. So many people there.
Don't you feel it's your private temple?
At the moment, it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, your
Yes.
private temple.
Private temple, yes.
Feel a bit like Indiana Jones at the moment.
At last, it's Bon Om Tuk, the big water festival. There's great excitement in Banteay Chhmar. Word has gotten around that a very special boat race is being held here, the only one in Cambodia in a temple moat. Everyone from the committee team is here. Unfortunately, they didn't find the time to train properly, but they really want to win.
Okay, hello, chăm ăn rồi đấy, tụiគ្នា. Okay, cho ngày đi, đừng để chia 100% ơi.
Ok, chẳngយុទ្ធសាស្ត្ររបស់យើងគឺយើងរៀបចំអ្នកមុខដែលមានគេហៅថាកម្លាំងធម៌ពលដែលកើតបង្ងាយនឹងការអស់ដៃដោយសារតែទូកនេះសំខាន់អ្នកមុខហើយនឹងអ្នកកន្សែងក្រោយអញ្ចឹងពេលដែលអ្នកមុខលេងចង្វាអញ្ចឹងអ្នកក្រោយគឺទៅតាមរហូតអញ្ចឹងណាតែបើសិនអ្នកមុខឈប់អ្នកក្រោយគឺអស់ចង្វាគឺអត់ឈ្នះគេទេអញ្ចឹងជុលមួយ
That said, they face stiff competition. School and student teams, and even a rowing team from the Cambodian army. The chief of police escorts local political celebrities to the finish line. One last time, a monk prays to Buddha for a lucky race. Sponsors hand out money. After the race, the boats will be brought back to the monastery to sleep for another year. All the teams use the same 2 boats. Whoever loses a preliminary round is eliminated. Now it's the committee's turn. They go to the starting line in front of the temple bridge. They'll be off very soon. Of course, Sreymom has come to cheer on her husband. In the other boat are the students. They get off to a much better start. The committee team is still trying to find its rhythm. The students are nearly 2 boat lengths ahead. It's a pretty clear defeat.
គេហើយថ្ងៃនេះប៉ុន្តែទោះបីជាចាញ់ក៏ពួកយើងនៅតែសប្បាយពីព្រោះយើងបានចូលរួមការងារសង្គមបាទចូលរួមអបអរពិធីបុណ្យអុំទូកហើយដែលជាពិធីបុណ្យប្រពៃណីជាតិខ្មែរក៏ដូចជាមោទនភាពខ្មែរមួយដែលរំលឹកដល់កាលវិបត្តិជ័យម៉ាន់ទី7ដែលព្រះអង្គបានធ្វើសង្គ្រាមជើងទឹកជាមួយពួកចាមហើយព្រះអង្គបានយកជំនះលើពួកចាមអញ្ចឹងពួកយើងក៏មានមោទនភាពក្នុងការចូលរួមនៅថ្ងៃនេះបាទគឺការកំសាន្តយើងមិនគិតរឿងចាញ់ឈ្នះទេតែយើងគិតរឿងចូលរួមហើយសប្បាយដល់គ្នា
The village committee team does the traditional losers dance, a lovely custom guaranteeing that everyone will leave the water festival feeling good. Who knows? Maybe they'll win next year. Racing boats in the Bon Om Tuk Water Festival in Banteay Chhmar.